Hello, and welcome to the We Recommend podcast, a movie podcast where every week we recommend a movie for you to watch and then come back here to listen to us discuss. I'm Jesse. Can you dig it? Because this week I recommend The Warriors. So this week it's just me by myself. Jason's not here because he's got sick, and we are pretty much at a time crunch to record, and I couldn't get anybody to record with me. So right now it's just me and my dogs, and they are going to help record, as in hopefully they just sit there quiet and don't bark a lot because it's pretty quiet in this room now. So I chose The Warriors this week. This is a movie that I loved as a child. Watched it I don't know how many times I've actually watched it, but I watched it quite a bit as a child. There's just something about this movie, has such a vibe, you know? I like this, like a gang being attacked by other gangs and they have to run across the city just to get back to home where they're supposed to be safe, even though it's like everybody could just come there and get them, even though I get that they're supposed to be able to, get some backup or whatever, but I don't know. It's just such a cool vibe. I like the score of the movie. It's kind of synthy, which obviously everybody loves synth music, especially in films. Such a huge craze. And I don't know. It's just kind of, I don't know. It's just a fun movie. It's got its problems, obviously, but I don't know. It's kind of a cult classic. So the film also stars Michael Beck, who plays Swan. You got James Remar, plays Ajax. One of the movies that we best know him from is probably 48 Hours, which is also the director of this film. Walter Hill directed the 48 Hours film, which is pretty interesting. Dorsey Wright plays Cleon. Brian Taylor plays Snow. David Harris plays Cochise. Tim McKitterick plays Cowboy. And Marcelino Sanchez plays Rembrandt. Terry Mikos plays Vermin. Deborah Van Valkenburg plays Mercy. And Roger Hill plays Cyrus. And David Patrick Kelly plays Luther. I will get into some of the facts that I got about the movie. Okay, so during the iconic Parkland battle between the Warriors and the Baseball Furies, Walter Hill reportedly created this gang out of his love for the rock band Kiss and his lifelong love of baseball, which is hilarious that that's how he decided to put the two together. To be as authentic as possible, Walter Hill wanted to use real-life gang members in The Warriors. The character of Cyrus was originally cast with a gang member, but he suddenly vanished the night before filming commenced, which is wild. However, during the infamous fight that takes place at the Van Cortlandt Park Conclave, real New York City gang members were used as a kind gesture for filming on their territory. As a precaution, the NYPD planted the background extras with undercover cops to make sure the real gang members remained in check. That is so fucking wild. It's like, okay, so we want to shoot there, but to make sure that they don't cause any trouble, let's actually put them into the movie. And then you have outside of that, it's essentially just like actually in the movie that we see. Like the cops are there. They're making sure that nothing happens. And then, of course, a gunshot goes off and then the cops have to run and then pandemonium breaks out, which is pretty wild. It's just kind of funny, The script for The Warriors was adapted from Sol Urich's graphic novel of the same name, which in turn quotes and borrows elements from Anabasis, a 7-book adventure by the ancient Greek soldier and writer Xenophon. So just know that while The Warriors might seem very time-stamped, it has roots going back to BC times. Isn't that crazy? And also, the writer of the graphic novel, Sol Urich, wrote the original book as a rebuttal to the romanticized views of street gangs presented in West Side Story that came out in 1961, based on his experience as a New York City welfare department worker. Jeez, how can I not talk even when I'm by myself? This is crazy. So, director of photography Andro Lazu campaigned successfully to have a scene early in the film where there is a sudden rainstorm, because this allowed him to wet down the streets of the rest of the movie and produce lighting effects that wouldn't have been possible on dry surfaces. It also worked well with the film's limited budget. I find this interesting because, going to film school, when learning about cinematography and stuff like that, this was one of the things that we learned, that it's better to wetting down the ground like a more stunning visual, I guess, in the camera. So I don't know. I think that's pretty interesting that they're just like, all right, we have to have it rain one time very early in the film so that we can have really dope shots, and so that the neon lights and some of this fluorescent lights will like bounce off the ground and just have a picture that pops, I guess. It's pretty fun. So James Remar earned his role as Ajax after becoming so involved in the audition reading of the park bench scene that he lifted the massive table around which the director and producers were seated. It's always fun to hear something like that. Okay, so according to the filmmakers on the Ultimate Edition DVD, the film was going to be a big hit after the movie was #1 at the box office charts despite negative reviews from critics. It earned $3.5 million in its opening weekend. However, word of mouth and a couple of incidents killed the film's momentum. According to Walter Hill, what had happened was gangs were attracted to the film and they had seen their rival gangs and caused violent incidents. Paramount Pictures panicked and decided to pull the movie out of theaters. Lawrence Gordon said that the movie still kept going while the studio pulled the movie out of marketing. Despite this, the movie went on to be a cult hit and even made a profit since it earned $22.4 million in initial box office receipts against a budget of only $6.6 to $7 million. So the iconic "Warriors come out to play" scene was completely improvised by David Patrick Kelly after he felt the scripted scene wasn't working. Walter Hill told him to just come up with something. So Kelly gathered up some empty beer bottles he found under the boardwalk and created the intimidating dialogue. Kelly later revealed that this is based on a neighbor who used to intimidate him, which is fucking wild. That's crazy. And apparently Robert De Niro was asked to be cowboy, but he passed on it, which obviously I feel like, especially at this point, he would be passing on stuff like that. So I just think that this film, I mean, when it comes to 70s action films, none of them age well. I feel like they're all pretty, especially the low budget ones, they're all so, I don't know. They're all so, you can feel how cheap they are, but like think about it now. Like if you saw something that cheap now, just like a super cheap, low budget film, and how bad it would look, right? So now whenever you watch this film, you can see that there's so much, I guess, well, I don't even know if they just use actual sets and actual locations, and you can feel the realness of it, even though it may be a silly concept and like some of the fighting is silly and I don't know, just the whole, I guess the way they talk to each other, it can all be kind of crazy and silly and outlandish, right? But there's just something about it that feels real and it feels very authentic, if that makes any sense. Like you feel like there's and the Warriors, even though they all look silly and all the gangs look super silly and doesn't look like this would be a real thing and they'd probably all actually get beat up by actual gang members, but it's just great to have a diverse group of individuals and like that are all together. I don't know. Because of that, I really like it. So, and we are going to get straight into the film. I'm going to try to make this a shorter episode. I know that just hearing one person just going on and on about a movie can probably be pretty annoying. Yep. So hopefully this works out and y'all enjoy this episode. So as night falls over Coney Island, Cleon, the leader of the Warrior, meets up with the 8 of the most trusted lieutenants to travel by subway to the Fairway Bronx. Then this is just like a lot of long shots of just, it starts off, it's very dark. It's super hard to see, especially I ended up watching this on Paramount Plus, which I know the physical media looks a lot better on TV, but man, it's just the beginning of this looks pretty rough. I should have probably watched it on the DVD that I owned, but I had a hard time finding it, so sorry. So they will be attending an event called by a man named Cyrus, described as the one and only. Throughout the city, the other gang delegations are seen entering the subway in their full colors. You have like the stylish purple gang. You have the top hat, white face paint gang. They all just look like mimes. I don't really understand how they would even work as just a bunch of mime gang members. I don't know. Do they just pretend that they're hitting you? Like, I don't get it. They trap you in a box and just leave you there. And you have the Army Jackets gang, you have this Asian gang, and then you have the Electric Eliminators. The kind of like Yellow Jackets. Those actually look pretty tight. I guess out of my favorite, it'd either be the stylish purple gang that we see or the Electric Eliminators. As the Warriors speculate about the event during their subway ride, we learn that Cyrus, called the one and only leader of the largest gang in the city, the Gramercy Riffs, has called a truce of all gangs in New York. He wants an unarmed delegation of 9 from each gang to come to a mass meeting to hear what he has to say. Some of the Warriors are excited at the prospects, while others are skeptical. Ajax. Ajax is a problem in this movie. We have to discuss Ajax. We need to talk about Ajax. You get it from the movie We Need to Talk About Kevin to the movie We Need to Talk About Ajax. I'm sorry, this is what I do when I'm by myself. At the Van Cortlandt Park in the Bronx, the meeting is well attended with over 100 gangs represented. The charismatic Cyrus takes the stage and delivers a spellbinding speech. But I love this because you see there's so many people in this court, and it's awesome. It's great. Feels real, right? You see the real bodies. There's no CGI or anything. You just have a bunch of people there just intently listening to this one guy, and I feel like it's crazy that this is a thing that could happen, which I don't know. Maybe it could. I don't know. Maybe it's just a bunch of gangs that said, hey, yo, let's just, I don't know, be chill, and let's just do this, okay? So he says that instead of fighting each other over turf, they could unite to form an army of 60,000 soldiers compared to only 20,000 police in the whole city. He punctuates his points with, "Can you dig it?" which is great. Everybody loves that, I know. To the crowd's wild response, outside the meeting area, the police are seen silently moving in. I don't know. This guy, Cyrus, who is played by Roger Hill, just completely crushes. I mean, he's in the movie for, 5 minutes maybe? But man, his speech is great. He's got so much charisma. I don't know. Just the "can you dig it?" I mean, what's more iconic than that? I mean, I know there's plenty of stuff, but love it. I think that's actually the reason that I wanted to watch this movie when I was younger. Just because I think the Warriors game probably came out, and the trailer, I believe, had the "can you dig it?" It's just really cool. And then you end up looking up, it's a movie. So now I have to watch it. Cyrus says that they can take one borough at a time because it's all their turf. I like the idea of just like all these bad guys coming together and being like, maybe we should just run this city. We could probably do it better. I don't know. It's just a silly idea, but I think it's funny. So most of the crowd is enthralled with Cyrus's vision, but one member has his own agenda. Motherfucking Luther, yo. The psychotic leader of a gang called the Rogues has snuck a gun into the gathering. They're all just passing it around. At the high point in the speech, Luther fires at Cyrus, killing him instantly. When Cyrus falls back, there's a brief stunned silence followed by pandemonium. Ain't that the way it goes, you know? Doesn't it just suck? We're all about to come together. There's about to be peace. And then here we go. Someone just has to ruin it. There's always one bad apple in a group of 100 gang members, you know? So the crowd was so fixated on Cyrus that hardly anyone saw who fired the shot. But Luther turns to see that Fox of the Warriors witnessed the assassination. So he points the gun to kill Fox. Just at that moment, the police spotlight comes on and blinding Luther. You know, that's just the way it goes for Luther, too. You know, just a lot of coincidences happening all at once. Cleon walks towards the middle of the chaos to see whether Cyrus survived. Luther begins screaming to the crowd, "That's him! That's the guy who shot Cyrus!" Oh, God, Luther is such a little scumbag. He's such a little stinker. I hate Luther. I hate him, but you love him at the same time. So another member of the Rogues also claims that to have seen Cleon shoot Cyrus. Cleon denies it, but Luther continues to scream, "The Warriors did it! The Warriors did it!" And then he tries to charge at Cleon, and Cleon just straight up yeets him out of there. And Cleon, he's doing all right during the fight against the Rogues, but then the Gramercy Riffs martial arts experts step in and bring Cleon down with kicks and elbow hits. Cleon presumably has been killed. Poor Cleon, you know, he didn't deserve it. And I actually thought the actor was really good at the beginning. He brought like a very I don't know, like a tough energy to it to where you could see like, oh yeah, this is why he's our leader. So, you know, R.I.P. Cleon. You know, I hope you're in gang heaven. I don't know why I said that. So the other warriors break through a wooden fence to make their escape, winding up in a cemetery as the rest of the police rush into the park and the various gangs flee. So they take a head count and determine that everyone is there except for Cleon. Swan, who as war chief is the second ranked member after Cleon. He states that they are going to the subway to catch the train back to Coney Island because that's home turf. That's where they have all their members of the gang. So if anybody's got to come to them, they're going to have a war with the entire Warriors gang, which is why it's so important to get back to Coney Island. So a member named Ajax, played by James Remar, the great James Remar, who's been in so many movies. And he's kind of one of that guys, you know? You're just like, oh man, I know him from something. I can't remember what, but I know he's like the fourth or fifth person built into this movie. I know he's in Too Fast, Too Furious. You know, that's really the movie that I remember him the most in. That might be lame, but I love those movies, so. A member named Ajax gives Swan some trouble when he asks, who made you leader? Swan advises him to make his move, but the remaining members intervene, telling Ajax to calm down and urge everyone to stick together, because if they don't stick together, they won't make it back to Coney Island. And as Caesar said, apes alone weak, apes together strong. So Ajax backs down for now, and they make their way towards the subway, worrying whether the truth is still on. If it isn't, they will have to bop, which means fight across the other gang's territories, vulnerable because they are wearing their colors and are not packed and armed. Here's the thing. Take off your colors, right? I get that it's a whole thing where it's like, I'm tough, I gotta represent my colors and my gang, but you know it's not tough being dead, so maybe just get over it, right? I'm sorry if you're in a gang and that's very offensive, and actually I'd love to hear why it's such a big deal to represent your gang. You can email us at werecommendmailbag@gmail.com. Okay. Meanwhile, the Gramercy Rift's new leader, Masai, addresses the Rifts at their underground hideout. He wants the Warriors alive if possible. So the Rifts inform a local DJ. This is one of the best parts. I love this. Every time it cuts to the DJ, it's like, hell yeah, let's go. So the Rifts inform a local DJ, and she puts the word out on the radio, urging all local gangs to be on the lookout and capture or kill the Warriors, the gang that broke the truth. For the Rifts, she dedicated the song Nowhere to Run to the Warriors. As the song plays, gangs throughout the city are getting ready to hunt down Cyrus' assassins. And then there's just like a montage of gangs and cops searching. So the Warriors wait for a train outside an elevated train station so that they will not be ambushed on an open platform. Ajax complains that they're acting like wimps. That's not what he says. He says the worst word, but the others' caution is justified since a school bus filled with tough-looking skinhead gang known as the Turnbull ACs begin patrolling the area. These guys, you know, up to no good, obviously. They have like a mid-sized bus. It's not like a short bus. It's a little bit longer. It's not a full-size bus, though. And there's like 1,000 people in it. And soon coming up, they're going to be chasing the Warriors in the bus. And I'm like, yo, y'all should just get out because y'all would be faster. The bus would obviously be faster because there's not 1,000 people in it. And so maybe if, I don't know, let's say 50 people got out, maybe they would be able to catch up with the Warriors on the bus. I don't know. It's pretty silly. When the train arrives, the Warriors make a break for it and barely make the train ahead of the gang. So the gang is celebrating, but Swan says they aren't in the clear yet until they get to Coney Island. Messiah is informed of the Turnbull's failure. Meanwhile, Luther gets a telephone update from an informant and learns that the Rifts put the word out on the street that they want the Warriors alive. And I believe this is the point where I think he's like standing in front of, it's like one of those like New York City, like, you know, like newspaper stands almost, but they're selling like candy and stuff like that. And he gets it and the girl's like, hey, what about my money? He's like, fuck you, lady. It's so wild. He's so aggressive and crazy. We learn that the rogues don't want the Warriors taken alive for fear that their stories they might tell. Luther tells his crew that they can do some looking too. The celebrating Warriors' journey home is cut short when a fire on the tracks delays the train. They have no choice but to make their way to the next station on foot. And I love that they don't show anybody like putting a fire on the train tracks. Like it could be someone that's chasing after them and knows the route to Coney Island and that they have to take the 96th Street train or whichever street it was. Or, like, I don't know, it's New York City in the 70s. Things got fucking crazy, I guess, out there. So maybe someone was like, I'm just going to mess with this train. So they just threw like a flaming trash can or something on it. I don't know. It's one that they don't show it, so it leaves a little, speculation for you. So they have to make sure. So yeah, they're going on foot to the next station, which is the route that takes them directly through the Bronx territory of a small, low-level gang known as the Orphans, who did not attend the gathering at Van Cortlandt Park and apparently don't know of the contract out on the Warriors. So it looks like there just might be like a little bit of hope that they could easily make it because the Orphans, they didn't know about all this. So after determining the Orphans' numbers to be at least 30 versus the 8, Swan decides a diplomatic solution would be best. He brings Fox with him to meet with the Orphans' leader. After a bit of tough posturing, the leader accepts the Orphans' leader is Paul Greco, if you know who that is. After a bit of tough posturing, the leader accepts the explanation of the subway fire, buttered up a bit by Fox's respectful comments, and tells them they can move through the territory if they come in peace. I love that the Fox's respectful comments really, he did not put any, sugar on it at all. He's like, oh, wow, yeah, y'all did something. That's really good. This is how Fox talks, apparently. Cool. But, so we think that the Orphans leader's gonna let them go through. However, old Mercy comes out. She begins taunting the leader of the Orphans. It, starts making chicken noises at him and just starts essentially being super mean to him. The leader's manhood is insulted, so he orders the Warriors to remove their gang colors if they want to proceed through their territory. Swan tells them to fuck off, and the Orphans leave while the Warriors march on. I'm sure this isn't going to end poorly for anybody. It's like, Mercy, dude, it's like she just wanted to cause some trouble. She's tired of hanging out with some losers like these orphan guys who I guess just walk around in their disgusting looking ratty clothes. Like, come on, guys. I know it's the gangs are just so theatrical. I love it. It's so good. So the curious Mercy tails the Warriors and gets caught by Ajax. She claims to want some real action. And just then the Orphans show up again, packed and ready to rumble. So yeah, Ajax, because James Remar is such a good actor and he really pops in this movie, his character sucks, man. He's just he's a predator and he's no good, very bad, shouldn't exist in the world. So they throw some tough words around, but Snow produces a Molotov cocktail, which is awesome, which Swan throws at a car near the Orphans. The Warriors take off past the flaming vehicle. The car explodes. The Orphans fail to pursue, and the Warriors hightail it to the next station with Mercy. She seems determined to stick around for the whole ride. I love it. It's like, okay, we're going to throw the Molotov cocktail at a car. Smart, because it's going to explode, but it's like, you could have just thrown it at those guys, and they probably wouldn't have ran after you at that point. And they'd all be on fire, The DJ passes on the news of the Orphans' defeat. Luther gets another update that the Warriors are making their way through and that the cops are out to get every gang in the city. When asked why he seems so happy about the situation, Luther responds, I'm having a good time. Fucking crazy. Also, they have a hearse. They drive around in a hearse, and that's such a good idea. So the train at the 96th Street station is not moving, and the frustration of the Warriors, especially Vermin, is obvious. A police officer walks by the car, and they take off running during this escape. They split into 3 separate groups. So Fox and Mercy run down the platform. A cop comes from behind one of the pillars and tackles Fox. Fox yells at Mercy to run away, and in the struggle, the cop tosses Fox onto the tracks where he is killed by an oncoming train. Mercy is running in the other direction and doesn't see Fox's death. So, interesting fact about this, Fox, God, I can't talk, it's crazy. Fox, played by Thomas G. Waits. So I guess him and the director, Walter Hill, they had a lot of beef. Apparently, Thomas G. Waits would often disappear and get high, and I guess they just had bad chemistry. Thomas G. Waits didn't want to listen to him. Walter Hill just, he didn't direct a lot at this point, so I think he just wasn't as good of a director as he would probably be now. So he had a hard time, working with the actor. And I guess because of this, they decided that they're going to kill off Fox, and they gave a lot of the lines and stuff that Fox was supposed to do actually to Swan. So just a little interesting factoid. I think I remember hearing Walter Hill says that he really hates how it all worked out, and he said that he takes all the blame and that if he was a better director, he would then like maybe they would have been able to work it out. But I guess they since apologize to each other, and they often write letters to each other, I guess, which is very interesting. So Vermin and Cochise and Rembrandt manage to evade the police and board a subway train to the Union Square, the agreed upon meeting place if they are to split up. Ajax, Swan, Snow, and Cowboy also outrun the police and exit the station at the front door, only to find a bigger potential threat, a group of men in baseball uniforms, their faces painted, and they're just swinging their bats. Love this. The Baseball Furies are great. I think it's probably one of the more iconic groups in this movie. Everybody loves the Baseball Furies. If you watch, they have Family Guy, Simpsons have referenced it. You know, they're just, and even movies, there's other movies and stuff. They all reference this. It's because it's just very iconic. It's silly. It's fun. It's also great. And it looks cool. So it's all over the spectrum for me. So the Baseball Furies have been waiting for them. The four warriors take off running down the street. The chase continues into the Riverside Park. Swan and Snow split to the side, leaving Ajax and Cowboy running forward. The Furies failed to see the split and follow Ajax and Cowboy. Swan and Snow circle the Furies back. Cowboy can no longer run, so Ajax turns to face his foes, with Swan coming up from the rear. In the ensuing melee, Ajax's and Swan's fighting skills shine. They succeed in wresting control of the bats and eventually laying out all the Furies. You know, just because you're in a gang, you should probably learn how to fight, especially with baseball bats, and you're obviously, you know, you outnumber them and you outarm them. Maybe don't fight one at a time, you know. Maybe bum rush it. Like, you know, I think they like outnumber them. Yeah, I think like 2-1, 3-1. You know, just 3 people swing baseball bats all at the same time, then maybe you can win. But this is something that happens in a lot of action movies, especially older action movies. You know, just they always fight one at a time. It's just like a classic film bit, you know. It's something that people still complain about. And movies today, it's like, why don't you all just gang up? You know, they did that to Cleon at the beginning. But, you know, they're just the Gramercy Riffs, I guess they're just a better gang. I don't know. So the DJ announces the Baseball Furies defeat and disparage all the other gangs for their poor performance. Meanwhile, Vermin, Cochise, and Rembrandt have arrived at Union Square to wait for the others. They see a group of 6 young women giving them the come hither look. Cochise and Vermin can't believe their luck in finding attractive chicks who seem to want to party with them, naively failing to realize that all the women are actually, you know, they're all lesbians. So, way to read the room, guys. But, I mean, come on. You're being searched. You're being hunted by every gang and all these cops. Like, come on, guys. You got to realize this. Only Rembrandt, the youngest warrior, senses the danger because, you know, he's the only smart one in those 3. Swan and his crew continue walking through the park. They pass a lady on a bench who gives her best smell. Ajax decides to play games with the woman and won't be dissuaded even after the others press on him to get the need to get home. Ajax, such an idiot. He deserves all this, though. Ajax disparages the other's manhood and turns back towards the woman. A few minutes later, Cowboy and Snow decide to go back to look after Ajax, and Swan continues to the station alone. The woman turns out to be an undercover cop, and Ajax is arrested when he tries to assault her, getting himself handcuffed to the bench they're sitting on. There's nothing Cowboy and Snow can do, so they make their way back to Union Square. Ajax freaking deserves to go to jail. Not even gonna lie. When Swan gets back to the 96th Street station, he finds Mercy still hanging around. A cop spots him, and the two wind up running into a tunnel with a train right behind him. And they're stuck in this underpass for a while. Off the tracks, Mercy comes on to Swan. He insults her and says he wants to find something better. He's such a dick to her. I mean, she did get them in trouble with the Orphans gang when they could have just walked by and they would have probably gotten to the train faster and everything probably would have worked out if she just didn't get involved. But, you know, like, just chill. This lady, you know, she's tired of hanging out with those creeps, the Orphans. They're crazy. They look messed up. I don't know. So, and that's the thing. Other than Rembrandt, the entire gang, they're kind of unlikable. Like, they're kind of douches. I mean, they're charismatic, so, you know, you kind of root for them to make it there, and it's just, you know, that's the point of the movie. But yeah, you know, they're just, I guess I'm assuming they're all supposed to be like early 20s, you know, not very smart. They're just like street smart, so, you know, they're just kind of rough around the edges. So Vermin, Cochise, and Rembrandt go to the group's clubhouse, and the leader identifies them as the Lizzies. an all-girl gang and says that they want to get down with the Warriors because they've heard of their reputation. Cochise and Vermin waste no time heading off to the couches with their choices of girls. Rembrandt stays aloof and says that they need to get back. So we're back with Mercy and Swan. He's like slut-shaming her and stuff and says he wants to find something better. She says that he isn't any better than her. And then all of a sudden, because he's just really like, oh, what? You're better than me? What makes you better than me? And then they start to kiss. And then it becomes a very aggressive kiss. And it's like, yo, chill out, guys. Like, let's not just rip each other's lips off, let's calm down. But then Swan pulls himself away and just begins to insult her more. And then we cut back to Rembrandt and notices like some of the women exchanging glances. And I think he started catching on because there's like these two girls just like sensually dancing in the middle of the room, and they're just like making eye contact. And it's like, I think he's starting to realize like, I don't think they like guys, But yeah, so Rembrandt notices the women exchanging glances while the guys are making out, but before he can react, the door is locked and the leader pulls a gun and says, so you guys are the famous warriors, the guys who shot Cyrus. Rembrandt shouts a warning and the three crash through a door, dodging bullets to escape. It's like, man, these ladies cannot shoot that gun. Rembrandt informs the others of what he has learned, that the women thought the warriors shot Cyrus. They finally realize that every gang in the city must be looking for them. Rembrandt doesn't think they'll make it back. Swan continues on to the Union Square with Mercy following. The punks, whose leader wears roller skates, spot Swan on the subway platform and hangs around waiting for their chance. I love this, though. Like, it's so lame, but there's something about it that's just also so cool. I don't know, maybe it's because we're, kid product of the 90s, so we roller skated a lot until I sprained my arm. Sprained my arm? Not sprung, my arm got sprung. I sprained my arm, and then I never skated again, and I got really bad at it. But, I don't know. It's such a silly visual. He's like in overalls with a long sleeve shirt, blue jean overalls, and then just a roller skates, and they're just rolling around. But I don't know. It's just, I don't know. There's something about, like, that would never be in a movie today. Not taken so seriously, So, I don't know. That's why I like it. Meanwhile, Snow and Cowboy have made it to Union Square and meet up with Cochise, Rembrandt, and Vermin. Swan sees his fellow warriors and signals them to lead the punks into the men's room. You got Mercy. I can't go in there. It's the men's room, Vermin. Are you kidding me? And just yanks her in there. It's so funny. It's such a good scene. So they hide in the stalls and ambush the punks with Rembrandt's spray paint. The ensuing battle, which Mercy joins on the Warriors' side, is another victory for the Warriors. It's a rad. There's a lot of breaking mirrors, stall doors. Everybody's accidentally hitting each other. You can see some like real genuine reactions from some of the people. I don't know. It's a fun little like disgusting bathroom fight scene, I mean, it's not as good as the bathroom fight scene in, Mission Impossible Fallout, but, it's a close second. Not really. So back at the Rift's headquarters, Messiah is told that there is new witness who really shot Cyrus. The 6 remaining warriors board the final train home with Mercy still in tow. 2 young couples in evening dresses come from either a school prom or a disco. I kind of think it might be a disco, but I don't know. It feels like that they have the flowers or whatever, so I don't know. And they sit across from Swan and Mercy, and I guess this is supposed to be like the juxtaposition of the gang life versus normal life. It's kind of just a weird scene. The two people there's like 2 couples, they sit down in front of them, and they just straight up stare them up and down. You can see how dirty and Swan and Mercy is, and I don't know. But there's this one point where she's like, oh, I should probably fix my hair because I don't look as good as these girls. And then he's like, oh, no. Puts her head down. It's like, you're good. Don't worry. These people are the fake people. I don't know. It's a weird little scene. But I don't know. It brings some character and kind of some sweetness to Swan and Mercy, who haven't been super sweet this whole time. So, I don't know. But these people, if you get on a train and you see some people that are super dirty and then they, I don't know, maybe could be crazy, maybe just don't stare at them for 5 minutes straight. It's so weird. So weird. So upon arrival at Coney Island, the sun has risen. The journey is seemingly over. Swan gives Mercy the flower he picked up on the train, saying he hates seeing beautiful things go to waste. I wonder if he's talking about Mercy. I don't know. Swan looks out onto the city and wonders why they fought so hard to get back there. Says that he may just leave. And then Mercy says she would also like to travel. He's like, where you been? It's like, nowhere, but I think I'd like to go. Like, yeah, I want to travel too. I haven't done it. It's like, Swan, damn, dude, don't be a douche. So the warriors and Mercy walk through the deserted Coney Island streets only to realize that Luther and the rogues are following them in a hearse. With no time to contact other members to come to their defense, the warriors take shelter under a dock. Swan now has a switchblade he took from the punk leader. The others arm themselves with what's around. The Furies, baseball bats, crowbars, hockey sticks, 2x4 pieces of wood. Luther makes an ominous rattling sound with beer bottles and chants, "Warriors, come out to play." Snake does not like that. He was sleeping over there, and now he's awake looking at me, thinking I'm crazy, and super upset that he's in the room with me, I guess, because Jason's not here. So Swan leads his crew and Mercy out to the beach, and the rogues follow. Finally, face to face, Swan asks Luther why he killed Cyrus, to which the crazed Luther replies, "No reason. I just like doing things like that." It's odd. He's a really good villain for this movie. He's kind of crazy. You don't get too much of him, so like if we had any more, it'd probably be like, okay, dude, this is getting old. Like you're way too crazy. You're unhinged. You would be dead by now, most likely. So Swan tells him, let's just do it, one-on-one. When Luther pulls a gun on Swan, he manages to flick his knife into Luther's wrist, disarming him. That moment, the Gramercy Rifts appear in force on the beach. There's like a billion of them. Swan asks whether the Rifts are still looking for the warriors, to which Messiah replies, looking at Luther, that they have found what they're looking for. Messiah praises the warriors as good, real good, and makes an exit path for them. They file out to the screams of Luther's death moans, I guess. I don't know. Boy's dead. As the DJ announces that the alert is canceled, the 6 surviving warriors walk down their hometown beach. Swan hand in hand with Mercy. They're glad to have made it home, but are emotionally defeated because they know that they and all New York City gangs are back to where they started from, which is hating each other, and essentially nothing came from the meeting, and it was all pointless, and now they just lost some friends along the way. It's kind of a bummer ending, but, you know, it seems like Swan's going to get out, and maybe, like, the gang will all get out of New York City and just go live a peaceful life. But, yeah, that's the film. It's just, like, a fun ride, right? You know, you just don't really get movies like this, and they don't look authentic like this, and they're just scared to be as serious and goofy as this is. You know, I don't know. It's just, that's some of the reasons I like it. So we're going to move on to our first category, the good, the bad, the ugly, the fine. So for me, the first thing I said for the good of the film is the premise. It's a great premise. I also like the fact that it was a comic book movie before we really had any comic book movies at this point. I don't know. It's just really cool. And if you watch it on Paramount Plus, it's just normal movie. If you watch it like on DVD, I believe the version I had, it had like extra narration, and also between scenes has kind of comic book panels. And so it's kind of cool. It's kind of doing it before anybody else was doing it, which is nice. So the bad of the film, something that I didn't like, was the long, drawn-out running and chasing scenes. You could cut 5 minutes of this movie, and you probably wouldn't have lost anything, because you know, it's low budget, and just whenever they had a higher budget, probably more interesting running, but just, you know, it's pretty, it's like stable shots, people passing by the camera. It's just not super interesting. And it kind of messes with the pacing a little bit. I know that's probably like my biggest complaint about every movie is pacing, but most older movies and movies that I love have bad pacing. I don't know. It's weird. So the ugly of the film is obviously the language. Ajax says some offensive things. Obviously, it's the 70s, and they're supposed to be kind of not very good guys. But, you know, I think that's the obvious something that didn't age well about this film. Something that did age well, or the fine. Films that take place in 1970s New York, you know? Love it. Something so gritty and real about it. And it's just like, it's a scary place to seem like to be, because all the movies about it are always like, everybody, there's crime, everybody's dying, we're all scared, we're running around. I don't know. Just, I love movies about that. Mean Streets, it's Martin Scorsese. He's done a ton of films. Taxi Driver, Mean Streets. It's all great. It's all very nerve-wracking, and it doesn't seem fun to live there at that time. So we're going to move on to the next category, which is double feature. And this week, I picked the movie Assault on Precinct 13. So Assault on Precinct 13 is a 1976 film. It was directed by John Carpenter, one of my favorite directors, obviously, because I keep recommending a double feature with his films. But they're just, I don't know, they're all so iconic, especially like the first few. It's about a highway patrol officer, 2 criminals, and a station secretary defending like a Los Angeles precinct against, I don't know, like a huge street gang that just all they want to do is kill. It's violent. It's just kind of a cool movie, I guess. I don't know. It's very low budget. Obviously, all of his John Carpenter's films have been like super low budget. I don't even think this was filmed for $1 million. Let's see if I can find the budget. Yeah, the budget was $150,000. But it's great. It's only like an hour and 30 minutes. It was a movie that I was thinking about maybe covering on the podcast one day. So, yeah, that's our coverage of the film this week. And make sure you join us next week as we cover the film Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping. It's kind of a movie about like the Lonely Island crew did it. It's one of the funniest movies that came out in the past 10 years. I love this film. I listen to the soundtrack all the time because I'm kind of crazy when it comes to, I guess, white guys making comical rap. I don't know, just right up my alley. I listen to it all the time. But thank you for joining me. Next week, Jason will definitely be back, hopefully, if he's not sick. And thank you for listening to me. I hope it wasn't too awkward or bad. I know podcasts with just one person can kind of be annoying, especially when it's just supposed to be a dialogue about movie. It's kind of hard to have a dialogue when you're just by yourself. So hopefully it wasn't too bad. I was pretty nervous during it, and I'm just an awkward person. So hopefully it wasn't too bad for you. But so make sure to join us next week. If you have any questions, you want to comment, hey, Jesse, great job by yourself. You can send us an email at werecommendmailbag@gmail.com. Also, please leave us a good review. 5 stars, comment on our video, on our YouTube, comment on, just leave a review on Apple Podcasts, give us 5 stars on Spotify, just wherever you can leave reviews, please do. And please give us a good review. I mean, there's no reason, why not just be nice, right? So I'd like to thank Joey Prosser for making our intro and outro. You can find him on X at Mr. Joey Prosser. Follow our Linktree at Linktree/We Recommend Podcasts. That's a quick way to follow us on our social medias and things like that. I usually post clips about our podcast on our social media, so go there, give us a follow on X, Facebook, TikTok, wherever, But yeah, so this has been the We Recommend podcast. I'm Jesse. And I'm Jason, but I'm not here. Okay. Well, that's the end of the episode. Bye.